narcotics and realized how bad I was. And then I reached out to some friends in our program. We had what's called a safeguard program. Every 9 months I had to go for a mental health check. And they did that for us, but it was mostly because we were a tool in the toolbox for the federal government, so they did it. But it's the greatest tool we had, because when I had psychological services, I could talk to people. I realized how bad I was, and I reached out right there.
On the last episode of Blue Grit Podcast.
So again, I came to work one night on my chopper, and actually it was my uncle's bike, and I borrowed it. And when I came, my chief found me, and it was totally street illegal, and that just opened the door to my undercover world. Yeah. Are you a rat? You a cop? You know, the typical. Right. If you're a cop, you got to tell me you're a cop. And then you brush it off and go, really? Really stupid? That's what you're going to say to me? And you got to be careful, because, again, what I said before is if I tick this guy off, or I feel like, you know, oh, so you think you're smarter than me, Giovanni? Yeah. You know, now I'll just shoot you. In this case, it was I swear to God, it was like adrenaline was the substance, and it was horrible for me. I didn't realize how out of control I was. They unplugged me. Now I'm sitting home. Now I'm just, what do? I'm like a caged rat. And I was like, look, I need some help. I got to come in and get a tune-up or talk to somebody, because my home life is terrible. Yeah. That's when I realized it. It was about maybe 4 or 5 months after, when I was sitting home like a caged animal, waiting.
Let's touch on that, because I think it's important to hit on that. I felt the same way to a certain degree, and I felt like you're missing out on the action, not because of yourself, but you felt like your team is out there serving their communities and serving the mission, and you're nowhere there. One, that's the first part that really makes you feel vacant. Second is that, and it's really weird to say this, and for those that have been in any kind of specialized unit, you'll completely understand, is that they're doing it without you, and they're being successful without you there. They don't really need you there.
No.
And so you start contemplating, well, damn, like all those times that I did miss, you know, little Jimmy's birthday or little Sally's, you know, or the wedding anniversaries, you know, this is no shit. And in my situation, it was our wedding anniversary. Mm-hmm. There was a homicide warrant where a guy had chopped up a woman and threw her in some lake or beach in Florida, came to Texas, and it was our wedding anniversary. We had made plans, and the Marshal Service started pinging him, and he was in the area. And I'm trying to justify to her, like, this is for the greater good, and went out and did that. But me, after I unplugged, was me justifying to myself, they're going to continue. And that was the realization to me that life was going to go on, you know.
So my old man, I call him old man because my father, with all, you know, with the greatest respect in the world, my dad warned me. As I was rising up through the ranks of what I was doing, he said to me, listen to me, you're not a unicorn. You're not some pot of gold. They're going to do it without you. Understand something. The minute you retire and you hand your badge in, you're done. No matter what rank you are, no matter what department you are. And I got so offended by this. And I was like, you don't even know what I'm doing. I can't even tell you what I'm doing. All these things I'm doing, I'm trained to do I'm trained like a spy. Yeah. I mean, I can't even tell you the shit that I'm doing. Like, how dare you say that to me? And he warned me. He says, listen to me. The minute you're done, they're going to move on. Your department moves on. The city moves on. Everybody moves on like you were never there. And I realized that. Not in an offensive way, but you're right, Tyler. I don't need to be at every mission. I want to be.
Yes.
My guys, I didn't want my guys hitting the door when I was in narcotics. We fought over who's going through the door first.
Yeah.
In the days where we didn't wear bulletproof vests.
Or have a shield.
We didn't go, there was no serpentine going to the room. We literally hit a door, and like everybody, it was rush to the bathroom all the way in the back, and first one to and it was more about the narcotics, other than our safety, right? Don't let the drugs flush because we got to come up positive. The stuff we did. And guys and girls still do it to this day for love of the job. But what are you missing? And it's funny you mentioned the kids. Or risking.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
For what, man? And when I speak and I do my presentations, I often start with the day you took your oath. Who was there? Who held the Bible for you? Mm-hmm. Because I always open up with it. Who held the Bible for you? Who was standing at your side? Maybe in 25 years, maybe the girlfriend you had, or the mother or father that was there, stood at your side, or your uncle who held it for you. Maybe they're still here. Maybe they're still walking the earth. Maybe the people you married along the way and had a spouse and family with, maybe they're waiting for you. Those are the people waiting at the end of the marathon. It's a 25-year marathon. Those people, and you owe it to them. You were picked to be the cream of the crop. When you applied for your job and my job, we were the best of the candidates. We rose to the top in what we did. Physical tests, mental tests, agility tests, whatever tests we took, we were the best candidates. We got picked. 25 years later, we're calloused. We're beat up. We're a little bit broken. But at the end of the line, that family is who spent the whole career with you. Maybe you went through a couple of, even the family that you divorced. I've been through divorce. Maybe those loved ones that are with you and still wanted the best for you, waiting for you at the end of the line. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to them to be the best you can be when you retire, but you owe it more to yourself. We invest in money. We invest in time. We invest in our family. The one thing we as first responders don't do is invest in ourselves enough, because they don't care. Ask your spouse, would you rather have money or me? See what their answer is. Maybe you married a greedy person. I don't know. They're out there. So,
depending on when you ask them that in your
Right,
relationship,
yeah.
Was when you're going to get a response.
Right. But,
I do think it's a great way or time to kind of segue in maybe.
With this next one, for sure.
Okay.
So
hit me. Not like my wife, though.
No. So one of the things that I did my share of undercover work, never that far, never that long. So I didn't have any guilt. You must have had some guilt being around certain parts of this organization for so long, who felt that you were like family to them.
Yeah.
So when it all went down, take us through that.
So I have this discussion on my podcast with my co-host a lot, and we talk about that. Sometimes that's the hardest part of the job, right? Like, we had to predicate our targets in the FBI. And sometimes the hardest thing is watching the family burn, right? The individual committed the crime. The family did not. Very much like our families. Like, they were invested in us, but they didn't know what we were putting them in unwittingly. So sometimes it's hard. Sometimes when you show up for domestic, it's the same when you show up for domestic and you have to take a child into family services. And you know that you're ripping that child away from its environment, not from the parent. The parent committed the crime. So it's the same feeling of that. That's why I say the two are, the feelings are the same. I'm sitting there, and when you work deep cover, it's much different. With Charlie, my capo, my boss in the Mafia, he loved me like a son, and I had to pretend I loved him like a father. But he would bring me around people. He brought me around the Mafia family, the crime family, but then he brought me around his family and other families. Some of the most difficult times were when I made a recording against an older guy. He was a capo in the family, and I paid him, and I had a conversation with him, and I paid him. I think we did like a hijacking or something. So I went there to kick up to him. I had to pay him money. And his granddaughter walks in. And she walks in, and he says, "Oh, hey, tell your cousins." Now I'm a cousin because it's Italian, right? So he goes, "Tell your cousins." Now I'm sitting there with my mob boss's son, me, and this old guy. And he says to his granddaughter, "Tell your cousins the good news." Well, I got accepted to whatever college she got accepted to, right? And you have to pretend, "Oh, my God, that's great." And you're literally celebrating. And in your mind, oh, in a short period of time, when this case comes to an end, Pop's probably not going to be there to watch you go to school,
Yep. Or walk you down the aisle.
Or walk you down the aisle because I'm going to put him in prison. But he puts himself there. So it's sometimes a hard thing to swallow. That's why I was always careful. Sometimes in law enforcement, you take it personal when you're doing your investigations, and you want that collar, right? And you have to sometimes think, all right, how bad is this? Like, in me and narcotics, as a young kid, I realized what happened was I was from the street. I told you I grew up in the street. So I arrested a girl, and it kind of has to do with the world I'm in now with substance abuse and treatment. I arrested a girl, and she's cuffed to my bar. I'm processing her in my office in narcotics, and she says to me, "Gee, I'm just dope sick. I just can't find a bed." And I'm like, "Sandy, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you." She says, "I swear to God, like I want to get better." And I'm looking at her, and I could see my cousin, who I knew was a heroin addict. And I'm looking at her. I go, "Are you serious right now? Have you called anywhere?" "I swear to God, I called this place, I called that place, this place, and nobody has a bed for me." So I sat there and I go, "All right, you know what? If you're serious, I'll make a phone call and see if I can get you a bed." My narcotics guys, my old salty guys that trained me, they're looking at me going, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
Yeah, this isn't the YMCA.
Yeah, this is college for dollars. Lock her up, process her, and let's get back to the street and go
Yeah.
catch another one so we can get more court time next week.
Back on the road.
Right, back on the road. So I sat there and I said, "You guys go ahead." And I was a young buck, and I said, "Go ahead. I'm going to see what I could do for her." I got her a bed, all right? And when I got her a bed, she went in. She stayed her 30, 40 days, and she got out. And do you know, at the time, we didn't have the pagers or anything. She called the narcotics office and asked for me. And she started giving me tips on information. hey, gee, somebody's coming from Manhattan through the Holland Tunnel. They're going to have this much PCP on them. They're going to have this much heroin on them. She was the best informant I ever had. All because I helped her, and I didn't do it for that reason. But then it changed the culture because some of the older dogs were like, so who gave you his tip on this? You know, they saw I was 100 bags of heroin, 200 bags of heroin. They saw good collars, and they're like, shit, you're making good collars. Yeah, well, that girl, I got her a bed, and it paid forward. Empathy. So those things along the way is, I see people. You have to see them for the human. You don't see them as a piece of meat when you process them.
Right.
Sometimes.
Well, and I kind of hit on what Mike was asking is, and I think the average patrolman right now is most likely the ones that's listening or watching this podcast that are actually law enforcement officers is that sadly we typically live and serve in the communities that we're tight with, right? Mm-hmm. For those listening or watching, you've been in a situation where you've had to arrest a fellow Little League coach. Gas station clerks and cops are the best friends when you work nights, right? And I think that we've all been put in that predicament where you've got professional relationships that kind of semi-turn personal when you do wear this badge, and I think that's probably the similar feeling that you hate to do this. You honestly, you have a gut-wrenching aspect when you put handcuffs on somebody that you care about.
Sure.
It doesn't mean sexually or that you have a infatuation with this person, but you care about them.
You do.
Because they've shown empathy and shown you care. Right. And I think that's probably the similarities that you've probably felt to a greater degree, obviously, with being involved with families as deep as you were. But that's probably the best analogy, I think, that just off the cuff of what I can probably explain to the audience.
Yeah, and I think working in a small community like out here in Texas, even Jersey, we have small communities. So you're a cop in a very small community. If you did lock up a teacher, you locked up a nurse, or you locked up somebody that's a pillar of the community, right? They were doing something illegal. You did your job, but all of a sudden you become the bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, Tyler, right? Yeah, he could have let her go. Now they start judging you. And the small
hard
community,
ass.
that can be very difficult. It could be straining on a responder too. Like it could be you become the bad, you become the hard ass and this and that. Now he's just. So you have to be mentally aware. I'm not saying suck up to the public, but what can you do to change that image? What can you do on the job instead of just going, and if you're not getting any calls for service, you're not just sitting in the car binge watching something on Netflix now, right? Or you're not just doing car-to-car therapy for 4 hours or sleeping somewhere. What are you doing proactively to change the community's mind to make them understand who you are? You can do something. You have 8 to 10 hours in a shift. That you can change that dynamic. It's up to you to do it. Invest in yourself.
Yeah, and I think segueing into this other part is that I think people cope differently, and I think people, sadly, within our profession, they don't feel. And I will say this: mental health, recognizing mental health within our profession is getting far better than what it was. Absolutely, when you started, and better when I started, and you too, Mike. And I think back to my point, you're involved in something pretty cool now across the nation, but specifically here in Texas, there's been 2 facilities that have been opened up, and you're very proud to kind of discuss what they offer and where they're located and more information. And sadly, our profession has some addiction issues, and I think it goes back to dealing with guilt whenever they have to do their jobs and how they cope with it and not being able to express what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. Talk about those facilities here in Texas and also what you do now nationwide because of your experience.
Yeah, I started speaking across the country and learned more about my own mental health and my own processing and my own healing along the way. And I kind of fell into the industry of addiction. I didn't intend to get a job in that. I thought I'd do anti-human trafficking or something like that, and that's what I was doing after retirement for a while. But after I was asked to come into this industry, I realized, wow, there's something here that's healing for me. I didn't do it selfishly, but I realized I fit into it. And there was a need for first responder programming. Yep. So I had gotten in, and I got into a group of investors that asked me to do something. And that kind of was the trajectory for the last 6 years of my service in that field. So I started out, and I started developing programs for first responders. And then, of course, everybody's like, well, it's got to be a first responder only program, right? Because, we're special people. And that was the...
Absolutely.
That was, nobody understands us. Cops are cops, and, first responders are first responders. But it goes to everything we just discussed 5 minutes ago about the empathy. So when I came in, I was scratching my head, and I go, okay, so let me give it a shot. So I started developing it, and along the way, my colleague, Jose Ortiz. I met Jose Ortiz along the way, and he's got a great history in working in this field, and he himself has an amazing story. And when I hooked up with him, we kind of started, all right, let's see what we can do with this. So there was about 4 or 5 facilities I worked for along the way, developing programming for them. But nobody ever committed to doing a true first responder program, like a good, solid program with great modalities. And but for the last 6 years, 7 years, I've been bouncing around in it. And finally, I landed recently with Bradford Health Services. And they have tremendous program. Everything that Jose and I have tried to create it over the last few years together, 4 or 5 years together, they have it, you know. And when I say that, I mean you have to be culturally competent. You have to understand our demographic. You have to understand what we go through. Your clinicians have to understand. Your facility has to understand. All your staff has to understand it. And you have to have a great clinical component to treat us, because we are complex, right? The trauma that we experience, typically, to give you an example, when somebody goes into treatment, it might be trauma they had from childhood trauma, sexual trauma, something they had along the way, or got into a car accident and developed an addiction program or addiction habit. They're typically processing that, and in treatment, 30 to 45 days, they're going to be good to go, and they can get past that event that happened 20 years ago, right? With us, it's different. With us, it's like, okay, we're treating all this trauma and this addiction that we've had, but now we got to prepare to be found fit for duty. And you know us, Murphy's Law says the minute you go back and you take a midnight shift, that's the first event, the first shift you take, that's when you're going to get another critical call, or it's going to be a bad crisis intervention you have to do or something like that. So you have to prepare for that. That's what we're bringing to the table with Bradford Health. Yep. So there are treatment centers we have here. In Smithville, just outside of Smithville, we have one. At the Last Resort, we have a lot of equine therapy. Our staff is just fully immersed in it and fully committed to treating first responders. We have other ones, 17 on the southeast, and from here, Alabama, Mississippi. So there's several of them, but the 2 we have right now that we're focusing on is Alabama, and we'll focus on opening several of them. But right now, it's here in Texas, outside. We do that one at the Last Resort, and then we have the Warrior Project in Alabama.
I cannot strain enough how important it is that whatever treatment you're receiving, that there is treatment after the fact. I have a good friend of mine who was involved in a shooting years back. And back then you didn't get anything. You saw a doctor the next day and, you're clear to go back to work. And it was sometimes just a phone call. Yeah. And you're back to work. My friend had to take someone out, and then 2 months later, 3 months later, he gets another call, domestic, and a guy with a knife coming at him. And instead of assessing or taking out the threat, he took a chance and jumped over a second-story balcony to get away from it.
Wow.
To get away from it so that he wouldn't have to pull that trigger again and go through all that all over again. Right. Now, when he hit the ground, he came to and said, holy shit, I just left the family up there, ran back up there and took care of business. Right. But that second of, I'm not going through this shit again, I'm out. Yeah. Can you imagine jumping off a second-story balcony just to avoid that? I mean, just so he would not pull the trigger. Yeah. I mean, and it's so important, and I'm glad you hit on that, because if you don't get the treatment after the fact or stick with it, you don't know what's going to happen after that.
You don't. And it's those things where you carry that for years after, Mike. Like, I didn't realize how long I carried my trauma, right? And a similar incident when I was 2 years on a job. I had a guy try hacking it. He hacked his brother up with a butcher knife. We showed up for domestic. He went back in the kitchen, got the knife, and then he tried. I wrestled the guy. I get to the hospital. We win. He almost stabbed 2 of the officers I was with. They write me up for all kinds of awards, all this crazy stuff. And then they go, gee, come here. My sergeant calls me over. He goes, so I want to know what happened. Now, here I was, this young guy thinking, oh, shit, they're going to dag me.
UIA,
name me
up?
For this. Right, exactly. So I'm going, oh, man, what am I going to tell this guy? He goes, so did this happen? Yeah. Did this guy grab the knife? Yeah. Did you do this? Did you grab him? Did you bang his head on a radiator? I did. Well, that's why he's getting, that guy I put him in pretty much a coma, to save my own life. And he's like, is that what happened? Yeah. He goes, well, let me ask you something. Why the hell didn't you just shoot him? And I literally, my response was, as a 22-year-old kid, I go, Sarge, to be honest with you, I forgot I had a gun. Because I was so emotionally deregulated, right? But again, it's not just the addiction component. Guys go, well, I'm not going to treatment for addiction. I don't have an addiction. Well, listen, the mental health stuff catches up to you. Yeah. I talk about and I share, for years I was haunted. I was haunted by the things I saw, especially with kids. I had one child at a fire. She died in my arms. I had multiple people. I held, and it's how you process this trauma, right? What I understand now. And I understand it from our facilities and our clinicians helping us process it. I would carry these people around like they were ghosts in my head. And I thought I wore it like a badge of honor. They would say, when I went for trainings, they would say, all right, everybody, when we slept like in the state police barracks for trainings and stuff, they'd be like, all right, everybody grab a bunk. G, you're over there, and you can take that room over there. Well, why does he get his own room? What, does he pay for VIP? No, you don't want to sleep in a room with Giovanni. Why? Well, he has night terrors. And do you know, for years I did that night terror thing, but I wore it because we're cops. And I said, and they go, no, he sleeps in a room. The door gets locked because if he wakes up, he'll choke the shit out of you. You don't know what's going to happen. And me and one other guy had him, and we wore it like badges of honor. I didn't realize until, and not to go down a story road, but this little kid, one specific, would haunt me for 10 years. And she would come to me, what I thought was haunting. And then I would sit there as a young officer, and I was young in my first marriage, and sit there and watch TV. And again, TV was different. Now you have The Walking Dead and all these shows. Right. It's very graphic. But I would see something that triggered me. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, oh. Now I know. I could feel my body. I'm getting hot. I'm getting anxious. I'm getting uncomfortable. And I go, listen, you might want to sleep in another room tonight. It's going to be a bad night. Like, I'm wearing it, again, like a badge of honor, because I'm a tough cop.
Yeah, a tough guy.
And then what happened was, I carried this, and I did it for years. And then when I became an FBI undercover, I had a psychologist, and he kept bringing this kid up to me. So I got angry. And like every 9 months, I'd talk about it. So how's the dreams going? Jesus Christ, John, with this, what do you keep bringing this up for? Yeah. He goes, well, let's talk about it. And then he helped me understand. And this is what you get in treatment. I'm just giving you an example. I carried this and carried it like it was a rucksack that weighed 1,000 pounds. All these incidences, I just take them and put them in my backpack, put them in. You hear that all the time. This guy's turned around, a psychologist, FBI psychologist, and he said, look, let's talk about the little girl. Oh, my God, here we go with this kid. Yeah, go ahead. Well, let me ask you something. What do you think is the biggest problem? I don't know. He says, are you drinking a lot? No. I go to barbecues with my wife, my ex-wife at the time, and I said, I got to leave a barbecue because I'm a cop. I'm hard to be around. People don't get me. You're going to put me in a room with a gym teacher, a dentist. So I'm in this backyard at this barbecue. I'm a cop. I'm Superman. Like you said before, I have this hyper-masculinity about me. And I go, so I have a couple of beers, and I get a little belligerent. Oh, so you're a gym teacher, huh? So you spend all day with kids, do you? Oh, you're a dentist, are you? And I poke. I start poking, because, again, I have this piece of metal on my hip or on my chest that says, it gives me this authority, and I feel like I can do this to people. Imagine doing this. So he would say, okay, stop there. What's going on at the barbecue? I don't know. What do you mean what's going on? He goes, well, just tell me about the barbecue. I don't know. It's a barbecue. And you know about barbecue. I go, kids playing, kids in the pool? Yeah, there's kids. All right, there's people playing. Yeah. People cooking, people doing, yeah. What are they cooking? I don't know. What are they cooking barbecues? I don't know. Hamburgers, hot dogs, steaks maybe? Yeah, some steaks, sure. If you're high-end barbecuing, sure. Not where I come from, but yeah. All right, well, what do you think is happening to you? And he explained triggers to me. And he goes, what's happening to you is not the dentist and not the gym teacher. He says, you're being deregulated, and what's happening is the smoke and the burning fat on the steaks and the hamburgers is wafting into your sinuses. And he goes, and it's reminding you of that incident you had with the little girl in your arms who had died in my arms and was burned to death. He goes, that's what's triggering you. It's a trigger. So what the hell? So what do I do about it? And he helped me sit down, and he goes, did you set the fire? Did you put her in the room? Her mom was a crackhead, was smoking crack, went downstairs, started a fire. She didn't pay the bills. The candles were burning, and the 2 kids died upstairs. And he goes, did you start the fire? Did you respond? And then he helped me understand. And he said, look, we have to reframe the trauma.
Yep.
That's what you're getting in treatment. All this shit, and I hate to say it, but all this shit that you're carrying for years, and you think it's something, a badge of honor to be carrying, and you can't talk to anybody about, once you get it off your chest, before it becomes an issue.
Right.
And before you go down that road, it might not be an addiction to a substance. It might be an addiction to the job. It might be something else, but it's causing you a mental health issue. It's causing you a behavioral health issue, and that's what you're getting in treatment. Get ahead of it. Invest in yourself. Yep. So once I learned to reframe, game changer. All the people and all the ghosts in the past, they helped me understand, listen to me. And again, it's a little bit emotional, but he goes, when that little girl passed, she passed in your arms. She wasn't alone. She didn't die by herself in a room. Mm-hmm. She died in your arms. And this is crazy. It still touches me. And again, I don't care if you have a faith or not. When she passed, and she was called home to heaven, you held her and you comforted her. And then it changed. It was this rush of just almost like a waterfall of all these people coming past me, old ladies that I held their hands as they passed, people that died, crime scenes you went to, moms that chopped the kids up or whatever they did. Like, I started processing it much different and saying, well, that child and that crime scene was processed because I was there to do it. Yeah, and that's how you have to reframe it and look at it and talk about it.
No, it's a great point. I think talking about it makes it, it doesn't recallous you, but I think it reemphasizes that you're human, right? And you speak of triggers, and I've got buddies now that they have a fire truck go by or a cop car go by, and it's the sound of the sirens, on foot chases where they've lost, buddies at work, and it's just interesting how they can reprogram you. One of our past presidents, James Babb, had driven past the same intersection for years, and for whatever reason, this specific day, he passed by this same intersection where 15 years prior to that, he had driven by an accident that was pretty bad. It was one of those significant deals, very similar to kind of what you dealt with, and he started. It was later in life he started getting these triggers. But he was talking about some treatment that he went through where they kind of reprogrammed the brain with some photo therapy stuff that was really beneficial to him. So again, for those right now that are kind of going through what Gio went through, man, the longer that you don't seek help, you're affecting your not only your life, but the ones around you that love you and the ones that around you that truly want to see you successful. You're impacting their life, and you're making it difficult to deal with you. So I encourage you guys and gals and ladies to reach out for help. It's okay to not be okay. That's kind of a hashtag that I think we in law enforcement use that for a long time, and it's kind of getting old. I think we need to change it. Yeah. But reach out for help, and there's places here in Texas.
You're right, and listen to the ones that love you. Yeah, the ones that are saying you're a little bit off. They're not being accusatory. They're not being judgmental of you. They're letting you know you're not. You're not the Giovanni you used to be. Yeah. You're not the man I love. You're not the woman I loved. You're not the. When you hear those cues, your initial reaction is to get mad and lash out at that. Take that and start to reflect on it, and then start to see everything. One of the important things I said, when you come home from the job, if you work the double, or you come home from, I had a thing with my wife on the job where we said, if I had a bad event and I went to a bad crime scene, or I had a very stressful day, she and I had a code. And if she was with the kids before me, I would call her up and say, look, I'm on my way home. I'm running late. The bridge is up. The drawbridge is up. There's no drawbridges by my house in the city, right? But in case she had me on speakerphone with the kids, I'm telling her I had a bad day. I can't talk. I'm going to come in like a beast, okay? And when I come in like a beast, because, again, if something happens in Austin, Texas, everybody's calling you to find out the details. Everybody wants the juicy details because all the wives and all the moms and every little parents, they know that you have the juicy details, so they're calling for that. A lot of times, first responders' spouses, they get bombarded. Oh, my goodness, what happened? I saw the news. Do you have any details? Do you have any juicy news? Right. You have this, you have that? So imagine, yes, we're going through it, but our families are going through it as well. So have that code where you say, look, babe, I'm on my way home. The bridge is up, okay? I'm letting you know I had a bad day, so when I come home, just give me a couple of minutes. Don't just hit me, because a lot of times we use it as a deflection too, like, hey, I'm running late. I'm going to be out with the boy. While I want to go, I don't want you breaking my horns that I'm going to go to the bar. So I'm going to tell you, I got stuck on an arrest. I got stuck on a collar. I got here. What are your actions, and really what's the most important thing to you? And when you come home, I found myself, Dawson, sitting on a couch. And what are you talking about? I'm here. I'm present. You wanted me home. I gave up an overtime shift.
I'm here, but I'm
not
here.
Me here. Right, exactly, Mike. I'm here. I'm sitting on a couch. Yeah, but you're not playing with the kids. Or more importantly, she left me with the kids. I'm going to run out or I'm going to go work my job. So I'm sitting on a couch, just, 1,000 channels and nothing's on. I'm just flipping through and the kids are playing. And the worst thing is when my little guy was playing with the noisy toy. I go, hey, what are you doing?
Knock it off.
Knock it off. What's with the noise? Stop. I'm trying to watch something.
Yep.
You haven't seen these kids in 3 days. Now, that could be a horrible guilt, right? So, but acknowledging it and realizing there's nothing wrong with that kid. It's a 2-year-old kid.
And I think back to your point about this new generation. We've got all these different distractions going on in life. We've got TVs now, smart TVs. We've got cell phones. And I think people get lost in the fact that you're just quiet when you get home and you're stuck on your phone. And if your phone's not there, you're watching TV. And so it's a different aspect now for the American police officer to get home because there's different things that they can get lost in and different distractions and blinders they can put up to not be seen. And so I think, which is why even more that we need to encourage them to reach out, get help, because it's a part of life. It's a part of the profession.
It is. And before the profession gets you, unfortunately, I lost my brother to suicide. He used what was once his service weapon to kill himself.
Yeah.
And when I tell you I have lived this job and experienced this job in every aspect of it, as a son, as a spouse, as this. And again, please don't take it as I'm sitting here, we're all sitting here amongst the audience. We're not fixed. It's
Right.
just that you're learning to cope with it. You hit on something really important to say about the sirens. I was the 9/11. We were there, my wife and I, my father-in-law he perished in the buildings, and she and I were right there immersed in it days after. And just, to me, to this day, I can't do multiple sirens. I can't go to parades. I can go to parades. I choose not to go. But for the longest time, even though I was in this treatment world and I understand my triggers, it's still very, if fire trucks and cop cars go by in an ambulance, multiple at the same time, I will get clammy. My hair will stand up. I'll start to get deregulated. Now, the thing is, I'm not fixed, but what do I do to get myself out of that? Yep. What am I doing to pull myself up?
Well, you've been given tools in order to do that.
And that's what you talk about. Research it.
Yep.
Invest in yourself. That's the best thing you could do. On a car stop, when you start to get nervous, you don't want to start breathing. If you find it, you got to do your breath work. You got to calm yourself down. You got to lower your heart rate. And again, we talked about earlier with the equine therapy we do at the last resort. It's important to understand the importance of breath work because it's applicable on the job. You'll do it on the job, but you won't do it at home. Right. I don't mean to call people out about that, but if you're doing it for the good of the job and the squad needs you to do it for training, you'll do it, right? For us and our squad.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to hostage negotiator school, man, I practiced that on my wife at the time all the time because it was fun. It was fun. I know how to keep you talking or let you think that I'm listening to you when I'm really not.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be sure that we bring this up. We talk about recognizing that we're all broken. We all need someone to talk to or some type of intervention at some point in our careers or after. But let's talk about our partners, not our spouses. I'm talking to the people we work with who identify something, who see something and don't do anything about it.
Right.
Some guy, does something wrong, comes to work drunk or whatever, and you hear everybody saying, well, I saw that coming.
Yep.
Yeah, you saw it coming. What did you do about it?
Yeah.
And some of us probably live with some of that guilt, not doing anything about people we knew who hurt themselves or did something stupid to get themselves in trouble and terminated, lost their jobs.
So this is where I get emotional and the gangster comes out in me. I'm on a police, so I could say because it's Tmpa. I won't get really raw where I start dropping F-bombs, but this really gets my goat. Because don't sit here, and I can say this because I'm third-generation cop, don't sit here and wear your shirts that say I got you 6, and I get emotional. I will turn into a gangster. Don't sit here and wear your shirts that say I got you 6, I got your back, I got this, I got that. Don't stand there at my funeral when a cat, because I've seen it. I've laid too many people to rest, and I've watched it. And I didn't realize until I was retired, and it's too late to realize it. Realize it now. Don't say you have my back, and don't cry at my funeral. If you're going to sit there when my casket goes by and go, man, what a shame. I knew it. I told you he was going to do it. Or, man, what a shame he's gone. And I go, it's emotional and it's hard sometimes to look at that, but I mean that, and I mean that as a third-generation cop. Don't sit here and say you have my back if you don't have my back. If you see there's something wrong with me because we're afraid of being a rat, like the Mafia, right? Nobody's going to kill you. You don't want to be ostracized. You don't want to be looked at as a rat. But you know what? If I was in a shooting and I was taking fire and you came and had my back, you'd be a hero. But if you saw me in distress and you didn't say anything and I wound up, something happened to me or I left the job or I just quit or whatever, and you just let him hang like that? You left him out to dry like that? You let him retire and leave the job? He could have gotten help. He could have went to get treatment. He could have got mental health services that are available to him. And now, especially nowadays, it's more accepted. Yeah. There's no more stigma to it. Let's break the stigma of that. Let's get ahead of it. So again, example, car-to-car therapy. If you don't know what car-to-car therapy is, it's sitting there for 3 hours of downtime, me and you at our windows, right? Whether it's snowing or raining or whatever, we crack the windows and we bullshit about everything on the earth. And we figure out all the world's problems. We figure out world peace. We figure out racial divides. We figure out everything together. And then I pause, and Mike says to me, hey, man, my marriage is in the toilet. I think she's going to leave me. I don't know what I'm going to do. She's going to, or I'm financially distraught. All right, Mike, I got to go. I got to hit the head, so I got to go. I think I just got a call, and I speed off. Really? Is that really how I have your back?
Right.
Or do I? Sometimes I encourage people now, because being generational in this thing, that, again, we're taught in Reed interrogation school years ago. When you want to get the confession out of the bad guy, give him a touch on the leg. Touch him. Say a prayer. Reach out and touch. The minute you have human contact, it's a game changer.
It is.
I'll do it because I'm in an interrogation room, so I'll reach out. But my own flesh and like my own blood, my own blue blood, I can't reach out and touch you because this is uncomfortable. So, hey, are you all right, man? Are you sure you're okay? You know, sometimes a touch or just letting them know, listen, you do know I'm here. I don't have a lot of regret, but I wish the last conversation I had with my baby brother could be rewound and I could find out what was wrong with him. Because, again, this is horrible to say. He told me everything was great. He told me everything was fine. He was happy. 3-month-old baby. Everything was great. Just got married. Nope, I'm good. He left the job. He was working corrections. He left the job. He was going to go back to IT work. I was going to get him a job with the government. Smiles. Love you. 2 days later, gone. You know? And then I fast forward 9 months, and I'm trying to, heal from this with my parents and, talk to my family members. And I'm like, I just didn't see it coming. Yeah. What did I miss? I work in this world. I work in this field now. What did I miss? And you know what the response was? And I hate to share it, but it's like, well, there were some issues. Well, he had some things going on. What I do and I'm not putting it on somebody else, but it's like, know what I do for a living. We could have done something. So don't wait. If you see somebody struggling and you know what it looks like, the guy or girl is not the same. Something's off. We're great readers of human behavior.
Yep.
See something, say something. We're good at planting that message when it comes to terrorism and protecting the country and protecting our community. But within our own, sometimes it's like, all right, listen, man, you're not okay. So, and it's okay. You should not be okay. Some of the shit that we have to see and some of the things that we have to deal with on this job, man, nobody on this earth should see it. I've shown that human beings do the most horrific things to other human beings. We shouldn't have to see it, but it's what we do for the love of our country. It's what we do to be true, not heroes. I hate the word heroes, but true patriots. We're the guys and girls that are willing to step in and take a bullet for people we never even met.
Yeah.
So
well put. Well, hey, grab your book. Where can people get your book at?
They can get it anywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can order online. You can go to mine, giovannisring.com. I feel terrible that we focus so much, but it was important that we focus.
No.
It's a great mob story. It's how I infiltrated the DeCapicante crime family. I spent 3 years inside the real Sopranos, and it was a wild ride. If you're familiar with the Sopranos, that's what I lived and breathed. And again, more importantly, on the mental health side of things, please reach out to me, Giovanni.Rocco at bradfordhealth.com. Reach out to me, reach out to my team, give us a call on a number, go to the website. Anybody, your family, your loved ones are struggling, reach out to us and let us know. We're here, and we're here right in the backyard of Texas, so it just makes sense. Yep. Connect with me if you have a peer team, please. I encourage everybody. If you have a peer team, you want to start a peer team, you want to start a conversation in your department, and it's not quite there yet, or you just need resources, and services, reach out and let us know. This has been a tremendous platform for me. It's not about selling a book. I've been gifted a tremendous life. Yeah. For a guy that should have been dead or in jail by 25, I have a podcast. It's Inside the Life with Giovanni and Dutch. It's hosted by the Mob Museum in Vegas. We hadn't had this facility now. I don't want to speak because I'm afraid it's bad juju, but I'm in talks for production for a TV show, not based on this, based on something else. I'm still waiting for Spielberg. Scorsese. Yeah. I'm waiting for Scorsese to call me, but apparently nobody gave me my cell number yet. So, but that's it, and again, hopefully reading this book, they'll realize the sacrifices we all do. You don't have to do deep cover, undercover work to make sacrifices for your family. Please, I encourage everybody to invest in themselves, invest in your family, invest in your loved ones. And Bradford Health is not just for first responders. We have services for everybody. So if you have loved ones, if you have somebody, adolescents, whatever you need, the resources are there. We're a phone call away, so just reach out to us and give us a call.
Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on, and hopefully maybe next time you're in Austin, because you've got the place right down in Smithfield, we're going to dive off into this book and talk about the Soprano story.
We can do that.
Yeah,
that'd
be awesome.
I feel bad. Those who cheated will definitely come back, and we'll do that, and I'll unravel it, which is great because Mike probably has more questions about it too.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a wild ride.
Well, hey, we're going to end the podcast by saying this. There's 3 questions, rapid fire questions. We typically end them on, and I hope you study for them because they're pretty basic, right?
Go ahead.
What's your favorite line from a cop movie or your favorite cop movie?
I never watched cop movies. Oh, It's got to be Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry.
It's got to be Dirty Harry.
Most common answer here on the podcast is always Dirty Harry.
Is it?
Great choice. Yes. Yeah. Most common. What's your favorite drink of choice whenever you're hanging out with G?
Oh, it's an old fashioned.
Old fashioned. That's the official Tmpa drink.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Right.
It pretty much. Yeah. And this is my favorite. What's your favorite cop car you ever drove whenever you were on patrol?
Oh my God, square body Chevy.
Yeah.
Square body Chevy was the best, the fastest car in the world. And again, in the world where pursuits, I came on a job before pursuit guidelines were a thing. You know, and I hate to say it now.
No, it's true.
We were hanging out the windows, full on shootouts,
because you had vinyl seats.
Oh my gosh,
slide everywhere.
It was the fastest car, the most agile car. And let me tell you, you could put that through anything.
Yeah.
And there was nothing like a 4-barrel carburetor.
No, when that throttle opens up,
we're going, moving now.
And it wasn't a thing when you're on a microphone and you're driving, you always hit the gas a little extra so you could hear it on your recordings.
And that's really how you kind of depend on. You can tell where a pursuit's headed by the sound of the background. But man, again, we can't thank you enough for coming on. You guys go grab this book on all the platforms out there and check out his podcast. Go ahead and tell them what the podcast name is again.
Inside the Life with Giovanni and Dutch.
On all your favorite podcast platforms. You guys take care. I can't thank you enough, dude.
Thanks,
I can't thank. We're going to put all the information there in the podcast description in our YouTube channel. You guys take care. Stay safe. God bless you. And as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.